Wake up, God damn it. Welcome to MARKETcast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Oh, really good. Just had one huge day and just sort of once that happens, I just kind of trade small around that. But yeah, a lot of the reads working really well. Some of the breakdowns and semiconductors, we kind of saw that coming, so that was where some of my focus was managing some oil positions and things like that. So yeah, really good overall.
And probably a bad week for the swings in general. I got into some and we're in them, but the there's some breakdowns and some stuff. But again, I had just like you, I had a really good start to the week. The weed plays we talked the way we talked that out really worked for me. Most of them are in the price point I like to play, so that really was good. Invex continues to be a big winner, and feels like I got Fubo on a leash right now. So those ones have been good for me. But yeah, I kind of took the second half of the week and played it smaller or more looking for swings. And by Friday,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just throwing stuff at stuff I should have bought all Friday. Like
Right.
I wasted the middle of the week buying some swings that I probably could have just waited on. So patience is still king. Picking previous winners, more is less. All that stuff that we've preached for years is really important when the market isn't established a direction. And right now we're definitely sideways. So
Well, and it's not like puts are easy right now either because the move's happening overnight down a lot of times. And so you're trying to enter puts during the trading days. It's kind of limited what you can do because they just consolidate and that just eats up the premiums. And so shorting isn't really that easy either. We talked last weekend about that. Manchester United was gonna tank, and it did that, and then it just pretty much did nothing all week. And
yeah,
I expect more of that for some of these stocks that have gapped down. That they're just kind of not going to give you great range. So that's one of the biggest things to watch for me in option flow is a chart that's just going to get quiet for a while because that's just not something you want to be trading, especially option side.
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Our 3 day rule, I was gonna say, is more like a 3 week rule right now, and you kind of forget
Yeah.
about it over 3 weeks. Um,
Right.
but even the ones that do kind of start trending out of the hole, I think it was EVX. I probably got that ticker wrong, and then Piton. Like even they, you get if you get the bottom, you're gonna get, let's say, 25%. If you're a normal person that isn't a super genius with the buttons, you probably get like 10 or 15% out of the trade, maybe
Yeah.
20. But before that was a solid base to start a swing off, or you would hit a home run for taking a chance, and it would just recover the whole damn candle. And I haven't seen a whole candle recover this session. I just haven't. Um,
No.
so
No.
yeah, like that chart, you don't want to wait on it. You're better just to find a trend right now, and try to trade that trend or news. News is always king for me. So those two things are the kind of the only things that interest me right now instead of a chart that looks ready. It's not that market right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And not to bring too many individual names into this, but so like in the whole semiconductor world, Qualcomm had this big collapse, and but it just hasn't. It's just kind of stagnant. And I look at the flow, and the flow is like $1 or $2 out of the money, either direction. Whereas SMCI, which is a small cap semiconductor, you know, range is great there, and you just wait for it to crash, and and it bounces right back, and that's kind of where you want to focus. So for me, that being a big previous winner, that's kind of a theme too, that it's not really always the time, especially in tech. It's not the time to branch out for me. Um, the only ones I branch out to are like when avocados show up or something, something like that. But we've traded for so long now, together in the system that cycling back to names we know is really kind of where you want to be, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into conductors right now, but I think when we were casually talking about a few weeks ago, you were like, they're all dog poo, and I was like, AMD. And,
Yeah.
that held off my 105, but it's not tradable there. I mean, there's a difference between it being at a level you can trust and it still being tradable. I mean, that's just one ingredient. And I like some things in the sector, but I mean, I think you're looking for some bad news for Nvidia for anybody but them to get a good run, and it's just it's kind of
Yeah,
over
yeah, and
that.
they all. I think, and this too, and this goes beyond that sector, but reading these earnings reports, you got to sometimes believe them when they tell you something, and so what they're telling you is that they have inventory stacking up, and they have demand issues that they think are going to get better next year. And that's been like AMBA said that, and then AVGO said that. So it's like, you know, they're telling you what's happening. Don't try to trade against what they're telling you. Don't get fooled by, the 1-2% day up. It's going to be sideways for a bit, and then whether it's sideways and up or sideways and down depends on, some factors outside of the sector. But we're not ripping back to new highs in this environment.
No, and you could say the same for EV and mall. I mean, if you don't just want to
Yeah.
stick to semis, like you're talking about something,
Right.
and maybe even oil right now, and unless that gets some news, which I think that's probably the better spot to be in than anything I just mentioned. Um, but yeah, it's definitely just something that happens in general. You get the spike and then the broadening, and then you pretty much get some consolidation until you have a reason. I mean, that just is what it is.
Yeah.
What one thing that this is a good transition. One thing that I notice, because I'm a signals guy, like RSI, and that's cool and charts are cool and everything, but I just look for like things. And when Pele starts trading, or excuse me, when Pac starts trading, you know, both sides, both directions,
Yeah.
probably not a day that you're going to get some breakouts.
Right.
And I know, I mean, we started the room, so I know most people's styles in our room,
Yeah.
but they're all different. And learning like when somebody, I mean, this is next level, but learning when someone else is doing good, like if someone's always doing good and you're losing money, that should be a signal to you that, hey, I shouldn't trade there. Or when they're active and it's not a good market for you, that should be a signal for you. And the reason I use him is because that guy is the most. I play some ranges, right? It's a little slower. It might take 5 days to 2 months.
Yeah.
His ranges take 15 minutes, and then most
Right.
people that's what they're looking for. Um, so in a day trade environment, right, is something real quick. You just have to take the money in that situation. But the information he gives and the way he's taken the material, I mean, the guy was a decent trader before we met him. Let's just get that out there. But the
Yeah.
way the way that he's added just a couple things that we do and uses the information to trade is ridiculous. I mean, there's it's not a coincidence me and him both took the summer off. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. We have not. I mean, we have a decent size accounts. Um, and when we got in that stuff from August to April, our accounts look really good now, and you don't want to risk it. You kind of just want to make the tax season.
Right.
And just the little things like that you can pick up from other traders is kind of what we're about in our room. And I use him as an example because he's one of the guys that I've learned from along the way. Um, but I think a lot of people sleep on him, and the same with like Pele. I know he doesn't post a lot, but the same with him. Like that guy can swing trade. I think he's a better trader than me, to be honest with you. Um, just because he's more patient. Maybe his sizing helps too, because it takes his emotions out of things. Um,
Yeah.
but those two, man, you can learn a lot from this community in those two, just because they have something that will add to your style. I mean, again, we're not two guys that you should be following, um, like trade for trade, button for button, because we're not alike. We don't have the same lifestyle. We don't have the same goals. We don't have the same needs. But you
Yeah.
could take that and make it work for you. I'm sorry, I'm ranting a little bit there.
No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's so so important to just kind of see the um, the limits of how much they or any of the people who post are trying to to get out of a trade. So it's basically like when you see Pac keep rolling in the way that he does, and he'll explain it to anybody who wants to learn about that. But that really is just about weathering. Okay, these are pullbacks in an uptrend, or spikes in a downtrend or whatever, versus just this true kind of sideways consolidation where you better just get your money and get out. You better get your money and get out. Like those the outlook into the trade is just as important as just nailing the perfect entry, because it's harder to nail the perfect entry. For me, it's easier to read the landscape and to read kind of what's likely to happen over a week, a month, 6 months, et cetera, for a particular stock. So that's why like I try to go after contracts where that entry, that difference of 5, 10, $15 doesn't really amount to a whole lot, because I kind of have a sense of where it's going, versus the setup like after earnings with DocuSign. I'm like, well, if you want puts, you better get them early, and then then it'll be calls once that calms down. Um, that that reading between the lines thing, I think, is important. It's just not a room to jump into and just look for when to press a button. So I agree with one of the best things that you can do, other than just reading our notes and following the voice and all that, is to just study what people in the room are doing, because we're very much about that. That's the whole point of having a room, to me, is just it is you actually do try to get a community of people, and we're small. We're going to stay small, that's how we wanted it. But yeah, I think that's the biggest advantage of the room.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like even just that for me, it's the reminders. I guess I mean I got to get into that hiking analogy a little bit because we're all on a journey, um, to the promised land or the top of the mountain in our own heads, right? I mean that's what we're doing here. We're all on this journey, and most people are behind me on the trail, right? So I guess when I get a reminder from somebody that's behind me, I don't know, it warms my heart for the lack of better terms.
Yeah.
But like goose fishing for bids, I used to do that when I was early on, right? Like I'll buy this at this price, and I'd put a way under bid. That stuff really doesn't work on the share side, um,
Mhm.
but on the option side, it's great. Um, and then Pele constantly reminder of this is bloody buys. You got to do it. You
Yeah.
with your stubborn conviction. Um, that's made me stay in a lot of things through the time we've been together. Where you're like I just it's not changing. I'm not buying it. Um, and then Pac with just the not the rules aspect. Um,
Yeah.
and just constantly being diligent in your system. Those things for me are valuable, more valuable than anything with what we do. So, but yeah, trading like hiking, man. We all don't have the same. We probably all don't even have the same mountaintop, right? Like, what do you want to make? P 5-10 mil? I mean, it's probably not the
Right.
same. It's probably not the same peak. Some people like only 5 mil. Like like that's just the way it is. And then what tools do you have? How big's your backpack? You know what I mean? Do you even have water? How much time do you
Yeah.
have? How much time do you have on this hike? So we're all on this same journey, right? We all want to get to our perceived mountaintop. We all don't got the same tools. We all don't got the same amount of time, So it's gonna be different. And I think realizing that early on, because I didn't, I was just like, how much money can we make? Um, Really is where you started making money for me because I understand what I need, right? And that kind of simmers down the emotions, gives you a setup. Um, so yeah, how's your backpack doing, B? Do you got a backpack over there? You got even got water yet? How you doing?
Right.
um, I just think that's important for most people to figure out, though, like who you are in trading. And I think a lot. I mean, if you're following somebody, I think you're not putting any effort into that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And so for the people like who the room didn't work for, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not. That's why we do the trial thing. But a lot of times when it doesn't work, what they're looking for is they are just looking for alerts. They want to just hop in. What option is going to go to the moon today, and then want to press the button and then get out. And then, but here's the thing with that: some of my morning notes actually kind of do that, but you still have to actually trade it. You have to watch it. You can't buy a weekly and go off to a meeting. So I think for anyone to make money trading, you have to be engaged. If you're not, then you just buy some stocks and go back to work, like we say, and your account goes up over time, as long as you're reasonably smart in what you buy and buy some VU or QQQ or whatever. But yeah, no, I think you do have to kind of know yourself and your goals and the time you're going to commit, and really study yourself as a trader and study the other people in the room and find that right mix. So those are the kind of questions I definitely want to be answering from people. So yeah, focus on asking good questions too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, if you're just buying an option and going to a meeting, I mean, I don't want to say don't do it. You're an idiot, but I mean, I kind of just said it. Um,
Yeah.
but you're not. You're not. You're to make the circle back. You're not going to ever be able to have a previous winner mindset because you're not going to know what happened when you won. You're just going to know the final game of the final score of the game, right? You just know the game ended
Right.
in your favor. You're not going to know that their defense dominated, or the running back got hurt, or it was news driven last time, or
Well,
whatever the
okay,
case may
so
be.
I'll buy an option and go to a meeting, but it's Devon November 52C that I bought under $50. Like, I mean, that it's not Tesla weekly or something like that. So it's you basically kind of have a plan going in. Like, I'm gonna buy this and hold on to it. I'll buy a few more at this price or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there were a few options are scary, and when someone's doing something that kind of scares me, they need to maybe rethink what they're doing. And I'm not here to tell anyone what to do, but that might be a sign. Like, it's when the risk is just so far out there. I don't like to see that. I don't want to be a part of anyone losing tens of thousands of dollars. That's just not why I'm doing this. So yeah, I mean, I think just sizing to where your emotions don't get the best of you is always huge in the option game.
Well, even after the play too. Like
Yeah,
if it goes the worst way, that can't bother you. You can't have a trade with a plan, and the bottom part of the plan or your exit bothers you. That's not good.
yeah,
It just got to be, oh, I was wrong, and I move on to the next one.
yeah. And there are plenty too. I mean, part of managing your emotions, like a lot of times in options, you'll hit your stop and then it'll just take off. And as frustrating as that is, just keep in mind that most of the time when you hit a stop, it's just gonna keep going down. So you can't look at those situations, the near misses, and you can't let them then influence what you're gonna do going forward. Just that discipline. I saw that image you posted.
yeah, yeah.
Having discipline is gonna save you so much money, and it's saving your money that lets the wins start to stack up.
Yeah,
Where you don't need a 3 home run day to make up for your losses.
no, on the share side, like it's all about. I mean, it might just be my world I live in, but the sizing really dictates that. So like you're not when you're unsure, you're not getting 100% into things. 20 to 50% is probably the most you're going to get in of your full position. But when you're right, you can hang out a little bit longer because you don't have as much committed. When you're wrong, your losses are smaller. So sizing to me is more important when you're unsure than anything.
Yeah.
Um, you can scale in and out too. That's kind of part of the sizing. Um, but I just don't see that as viable on the out. Like that's not something that mixes. Am I right about that? I mean, because you'd have to be playing like 10, 20 contracts for that to scale in properly to
Yeah.
to for 20% of yours to be position, and that's not really what you do, right? Like it's five at the
No.
most or 10 at the most. Like
Yeah, it's so basically like if if the contract's like $350, we're talking like four at most for
so
me.
it's still dollar
Uh,
amount. You're still dollar amount, huh?
I'm still, yeah, oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
still
I
dollar
got you.
amount.
Yeah, see, and that share side, I know people that do it and I never really understood it. Um, like I'm just gonna put 5,000 in this trade. It makes sense when you're treating it like a bill because you should be
Yeah,
consistent with your buys. But when you're trading, it's always just been getting the share side, the share amount for me, and not the size of the
yeah. I mean
trade.
that's
But
why. For me, and I like these combos because it gives some really different, interesting perspectives.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so I for my share option combo thing, it's usually mid caps that I like because a lot of small cap options, like the options themselves, aren't really
worth it.
worth it.
Yep.
Like the 50 cent options. But when you start to get to stocks in that $7 to $15 range, or maybe up to 20, I mean that's just perfect because the options move well, the spread's good, the IV is usually not crazy, and you have enough shares where you can do that scale in and out thing. Um, I started just this year buying shares, and sometimes it's fractional shares in the mega caps I'm trading.
Nice.
Of those all-time high charts, I like to just keep keep some in that. And like LLY is a perfect example. Completely exploded. If I would have just stuck with that on the option side, I could have just retired, by now. But that's fine. But I kept some shares in it because I mean psychologically that works for me because it's just kind of that payoff for the work that I put into it. And so when I do the fractional shares like that, it usually is round numbers. I just say, you know, $500 or $750 or whatever, and then I'm not sitting here like worrying, like thinking about how many shares I own of those particular stocks. Because the entry was honestly so good, I'm not even really thinking of selling it anytime soon. Whether it's MDB or some of those other ones that we found. But yeah, I really do. I like getting a piece of something share side. Being an options trader, starting over every day is terrible. I tried that for a while early on when we were in this, and just did not. I just don't like it. I don't like going into every single day fresh with nothing in there. It just it's hard to trade that way, and I know that's what most people on Twitter are doing, and
Oh, sure.
they're not doing very well. So uh, we talk about the people on break and the people who are just completely changing their whole approach every week. They're struggling right now in this environment.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I like these conversations for sure. It's interesting that the first thing that came to mind was okay. So when do I do have a money rule? Like, because I don't want to say I never do, right? I'm not
Yeah.
abstinent to the fact, but like TUP is a good example. Like when I was accumulating TUP, I was like, I'm not gonna have more than $1,000 in TUP. I'm just not gonna do it, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's my cutoff. No matter where I buy these things at, I'm not gonna get over $1,000 in TUP. So I do have that. On the megas though, or the bigger guys, or the long term stuff, because I mean you are kind of buying long term there, right? Like I'm putting $500 in here and I'm setting and forgetting it, and that's definitely where I think most people should be, and that's a great mindset to have. For me nowadays though, I just buy amount of shares, whether it's 10 or 25 or whatever,
Yeah.
or even five on some of them, and then still treat it like a bill. Um, but for me, if I look at it's kind of the reverse thing. If I look at the money, I'll think I won't have access to that money because it's going to be a long term trade. So it's kind of my way to um, put a little bit more away than I want to, I guess you would say. Um, not that this environment has been in it, but August to April was a pretty good time to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and then the secondary goal of mine for for some of these is I I want 100 shares of some of them
Yeah,
because I'd
yeah.
like to throw calls on them, and so for I mean for I'm not going to get 100 shares of you know AVGO. I mean it would be like $80,000 or
You
something,
never
but
know.
like snow, yeah, there you go. But snow, I can do that. But at the same time with snow, I'm not gonna on these runs to 180. I'm going to take some profit there too. So it is kind of a long process. I'm not just like racing to get to 100 shares and not caring about the price, but that is the goal for me on accumulating some of these. And obviously for the cheaper ones, it happens faster. The net and a few of those. But in this environment in particular that we just talked about, the selling calls is so much better than buying puts. And it just really because you got time on your side, and the the dead the kind of the dead chart moments are actually good for you in that situation. So getting on that side of it, given that I spend all this time reading the bid side, it's nice to get a piece of that too on some of these.
Um, quick little quiz, and maybe not the. I don't know. You're an honest guy. Probably, I shouldn't put you publicly on blast like this, but
Yeah.
I think it's good for everybody to to have it. Um, how did I want to put it? So I'll lead by where I'm at. So the last like big winner I had was Lucid. Not counting August April stuff because that's not day trading, but like day trading was that Lucid trade, and that was a while
Mhm.
ago. 40 racks on that one. Last one I missed that I had a piece of was Carvana. We had that at $7 and $8. It's at 50 now. And I had a chunk of that on the first run and just took my money because we were poor in January. um, you said like 2 minutes ago in this conversation like you could have retired off a VGO.
No,
Um,
it was LLY.
oh, LOY.
LLY.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you feel like you have another one or two of those in you coming, like in your mind?
Yes,
Yeah, good, good,
I do. Yeah,
good,
I
good,
do.
good. Because that's big to. I mean, for me, I had a good August to April, right? So it doesn't really bother me much that I haven't had one in a while or I miss Carvana as because of that. Um,
Yeah.
but I know they're there, and that's why I come here. That's why I show up every day because I know one of them that you hit on can be life changing. It really can if you just get in things at the right size, right time, um, change your life.
Yeah, well, because I mean, the LLY in particular, the reason I said that is, I traded it on the way up, and I think it was about maybe like 420. All right, so that was up to four. I could trade it up to 420, and then 420 was like a big level for me. And then I was in like a swing on it. I scaled out around 460, something like that. It dipped again, traded it a little bit, but that earnings move. If I had just if I had held some options through that particular earnings move where
Mm-hmm.
it was at 450 and now it's pushing 600, given the IV on that those contracts, um, yeah, I mean, like I don't know, like 40, $50,000, something like that. Um, whereas like I think my P&L on LLY is like 6 or 7 thousand, which is great. That's good. But yeah, I mean there are ones like that. Learning to hold a little bit through those events. Um, it's hard. It's hard because you don't want to put that much risk out there. But if you've built up a position and you have a few free options, it is sometimes worth it when the read is there.
In general, kind of the pound of the table thing today. If you're here, you'll see something that is different in the situation or similar to when it made the move last time, and you can't see that unless you're here. So being here is probably being present, being active in stocks is probably the most important thing. Like you can't. I mean, when I take a week off and go on vacation, it takes me a week to get back into it
Yeah.
before I feel comfortable. And like if you're just here, 2 hours 2 hours, 2 days a week, I would be in the treat it like a bill mode. I really would.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and I think like for both of us, probably crypto is one that we didn't buy enough. It was
yeah,
impossible to buy enough, you
yeah,
know. But I mean, it
yeah.
was just it just exceeded everything. I knew we were at the bottom. I was pretty confident in that, but it still just exceeded everything I thought it would do. I mean,
Hey,
MSTR running into $450. I never thought I'd see that number again.
no.
So
Hey,
completely
with your
changed things.
with your money thing, that's a good example of it. Probably would have worked better in my favor because I put more into Mara this last time, dollar amount, than I did the first time.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
obviously it was a $3 stock, but if I would have just played the same amount in those two cases, Jesus,
yeah,
I probably would have had some long-term Mara shares, to be honest with you.
yeah.
No, that one I didn't hold long enough at all. Um, yeah,
Yeah, same with coin for me. I mean both times I got a good piece of it, but I should have kept I should have kept some. I got 5 shares left from our original
really
entries on that at
nice.
the beginning of the year.
I told myself I'm only day trading that thing. I wouldn't hold it, and that was probably a bad decision.
And the reason is, like, well, why didn't I just completely sell it on, the move to 100?
100.
So there's like a possibility that's a reasonable possibility that in the 5 to 10 year window, after all the dust settles, coin's still around, coin's 140 to $180. I could see that happening. As much as people want to say coin is a zero, um, I felt all along that the regulatory environment, that they're going to take a lot of punches, but given that they're an American company and publicly listed, that they could actually come out of this and be one of the big players for whatever crypto is going to be at that time. So that's why I kept them. I mean, the average on them is let me look it up.
Your
Yeah,
average.
50
Oh, you don't got the Lolos? You got the second.
41.
Okay, there we go.
41.
There we go.
Yeah.
But that's an average, right?
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
average.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. That's good. No, I told myself I was gonna only day trade that thing. I'm with you though. It's a $0 or $300 stock. That's how that kind of works.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's do some spy and get out of here since we're all rules today.
Yeah.
Um, we had tight range last week. Well, you 456. I was 456, 445. I was 448, so $3 up. 453. I did the math on this. So you were $11 range, and I was a $5 range. Who would have a $5 range on Spy?
Right.
We ended up 442 on the low, 451 on the high. So it was a $7. Am I doing that right? $9 range. Sorry, $9 range. So you're a little closer to you, but I think we both seen it. It finished in the middle of us.
Yeah.
Your level's a little bit closer on the downside. Mine a little bit closer on the upside. Closed on your level though.
Yeah, no, it was I Spy to me was not very tradable last week. I know people do it. And one of the things I said was that QQQ is going to give better range. And I still think we're kind of in that mode, especially given what happened with Apple. But yeah, it's kind of a tricky time. I mean, I think the market's probably it's going to get a big push soon. It's just going to be news driven, so hard to time that.
The That's funny that you said it's not really tradable, and then here comes Pac with the money wash. Here's how you trade the money wash. I mean,
Oh,
that's a
I know. Yeah, yeah. For my style,
oh,
like
one
I
hundred
just
percent, one hundred
I
percent.
prefer the other stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just funny how that works. Like y'all kind of see it is whether you apply it to your system or not. Um, I,
Well, actually, real quick on Pac, like one of the ways I read what he's doing is should I get out of something?
Yes.
because like I do trade some stocks that are very sensitive to SPY, and flow can be fine, but if I see him on the downside, I'm mindful. I make sure my stops are set, and just don't. I don't want to sit through some flash crash if I don't need to. So that seeing him switch sides like that is very useful to me, even if I'm not looking to trade puts at that time. But just being mindful of my positions. And then one of the big things I think people will learn in our room is which stocks are really sensitive to SPY and which don't
No.
really
Yep.
seem to care that much. And I think you kind of sometimes like the ones that can do their own thing.
Yeah. No. That's kind of what I use it for. Is when they're talking downside, I just go look for charts that aren't responding.
Yeah,
When they're when they're in consolidation and sideways, I look for the opposite. 100%. Volume and range really are more important than anything. The stock, the market cap, the all that stuff. I mean, news is probably more important than even that.
yeah,
If you're day trading it, I mean, if you're investing, totally different thing. But if you're day trading, yeah, you just got to find 4 or 5 things that matter and find them in different setups. Um, Tight range. I've asked last 2 weeks, so we're gonna do it again. 460 happening this year. We breaking it?
I'm still leaning no, um, but I'm a little closer to yes this week. So I'm more open to it, but I'll still stick with no for now.
Well, I think we have enough. I don't want to say news, but enough events um, to push us a direction. Um, I don't
Oh,
think.
I have my idea on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I don't. I got a thesis for you there, bud. Um, 430 though, I don't see breaking. So, I mean, the way the chart looks is we're gonna have a pop out of that 460 at least
So
once.
funny you say that, because the contract I have in mind that I've been watching, it's 1020 430, but
Interesting.
1020 420 is 92% bullish. So that they're selling that and they're buying 1020 430, 81%
Hmm.
bearish. So that test of 430 is to me what's kind of looming here, and that's the main thing I'm looking for.
Well, COVID. You know anybody that got COVID yet?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I
Okay.
had a
Yeah.
my son's friend was over and did, and
Yeah.
then
So COVID's back, and government shutdowns looming. That union strikes looming. There's some stuff there. I mean, the union strike ain't gonna push the market down, but the government shutdown could. They arrest anybody for anything.
yeah,
That could do it, but um, yeah, I think there's some catalyst there, but I think they're all like kind of what you're reading is their short term catalyst.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
ooh, if we see 430, I don't think we see 460.
and this is why I'm saying we don't see 460,
Oh,
because
okay, okay.
I think we're gonna have like a really nice rally into the end of the year, but I think it's a question of where it's coming from, and so if we're gonna drop down and then recover and then maybe make a push in January, February, like that's sort of that's where I'm at with kind of my longer term outlook here.
Interesting. Then it's one of those two things I mentioned. It's got to be the shutdown or COVID
Yeah.
because those are like your short term things. Interesting. All right, let's since you won, what do you got for me this week?
All right. So let me see here. I'm gonna say 438 and 450. I'm gonna give a pretty big range this week.
I instantly in my head thought, oh, let's do 440, and then I thought, is that too low? um, but you went lower even, so I am gonna stick with 440 on that side. You know me, I'm a little more top end. I think the market's kind of resilient. We've had low volume, so I don't see too many sellers coming in unless it's super dramatic. We're definitely not hitting the top of this candle. That's 51. That's 50. Ooh, I almost got a Bob Barkey there on the 49p.
That'll
Yeah,
work.
449. So we kind I'm away. I see that top side with you. 50, 51 ain't lasting for long. If you're downside, that's it for me.
Yeah.
Um, unless there's something on the news that's pushing it to 450. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah.
But then the downside again, you're at a $10 range, maybe a little wider than last week, but um, you can kind of see an uptrend on the weekly, but it's just going to continue to get tighter until there's a reason for me.
I'm with you there. And it is, spy the weekly chart, you can kind of see what's happening more than the daily chart to me. Um,
If you look
the
at the weekly, just a little TA perspective for me. So you have those three solid bars down that we kind of called in August. Shout out,
Yeah.
shout out, shout out. Um, you kind of just got some relief there. If we get three more bars here, that would kind of change the trend for me. But I
Yes.
don't see that happen. I really don't see that happening. I don't see us gapping down Monday morning and then continuing down all week. I just don't see it happening. We're riding that 50.
No, for one thing, I mean, and actually, I said this after, when Apple took that hit, that I actually think that happening is better for from a bullish perspective than Apple being at all-time highs and trying to push the market higher. Because there's a lot of fundamental reasons that Apple at all-time highs is a little kind of raises your eyebrows a bit, just in terms of their sales and product pipeline and whatever.
China
But
exposure.
yeah, exactly. So for it to take a hit, go under 180, that it's given it a lot more room if there is going to be a recovery that people can buy Apple and push it without feeling like they're buying, without buying Apple at $200, which is, a little crazy to buy it up there to me.
um, real quick for people on the screen here. This is the weekly chart with the 200 and the 50. It's fucking worthless if you're a day trader. If you're a day trader and you want to use the weekly chart, 1330, best friend. You're welcome. You can use the 9 and the 22, but I like the
Yeah.
1330. It's a little slower. You're welcome. Um, anything else before we get to work? Kind of went a
um,
bit long here.
nope, nope.